Am I the a-hole for threatening to terminate an employee if she doesn't surrender her pet fox? For context, I work in engineering, and I'm a manager of 4 employees out of 40 or so at our office. A while back, one member of our team was talking about how she was planning to get a pet fox. I didn't think much of it. I looked it up, and they're legal in our state. She apparently got the fox about a month ago and has been sharing pictures of it frequently with others, including keeping one on her desk, but we've also been noticing several problems. Firstly, when she first got the fox, she was missing from work quite often. She was leaving early, taking 3-hour lunches, and arriving late almost every day. She was aware of it and apologized, saying sorry, I had to take the fox to a vet 1 hour away, or sorry I'm late, the fox peed on me this morning before work, and I had to re-shower, but it was happening nearly every day. I talked to her about it, and she was embarrassed, and said that she'll do better, and to her credit she has been better about that for the past couple weeks. But then the other issue, the bigger issue now, is the smell. After she got the fox, I got a couple of complaints from others that she smelled bad. I only noticed it at times, but it was definitely there. Most notably on that day when she said she was late because she had to re-shower when the fox peed on her. I'm not sure if she actually showered, but it certainly didn't smell like it. But more recently, it's become almost constant. When she walks into the room you can smell it. Even if she leaves her jacket on the desk, when she goes out to lunch, the jacket smells like fox. And it was much worse this week than the week before. I had an uncomfortable conversation with her about it a week ago and said it was becoming a problem, and she seemed very upset and promised that she's showering right before work every day and washing her clothes frequently to make sure it's not an issue. But again, over the past week it's gotten much worse, not better. So after talking with my supervisor for advice, on Friday I had another talk with her and told her the issues weren't really improving despite her efforts, and that something has to change, and it seems like it's impossible for her to meet attendance and hygiene requirements while caring for a pet fox, and if this doesn't change, we would have to consider firing her. This made her very upset, and she started crying and saying how heartless that was, and how I was unappreciative of everything she'd done over the past 2 years, and how would I like it if someone talked about my child like that. I do feel bad for making her that upset, but I wasn't sure what else to do. I'm wondering if I handled it correctly. Am I the a-hole? Too long didn't read employee got a pet fox. Now she's late for work and stinks all the time. I threatened to fire her. She sees this as heartless. Not the a-hole. Fox urine is enough to clear a stadium of people. Seriously, it is horrific. And while I get that it's legal for her to own a fox, it's completely unethical and horrible for the fox. Maybe someone with a lot of land and money who is available all day could care for a wild animal properly, but someone working a regular 9 to 5 cannot. What's so bad about it? How does it compare to cat pee? Fox urine is similar to cougar, puma, etc. urine, very concentrated, very rank. Urine from cougars, foxes, etc. are used to deter deer from eating people's flowers, supposed to make deer think there's a predator around, scares them off. But the fox and its urine are not the problem, and OP needs to stop telling this employee it's the fox. It's the employee, her conduct and her failure to meet work requirements. It's her responsibility to be punctual, work the whole day, ask for time off for personal appointments, like vet apps, to maintain basic standards of personal hygiene that don't make her co-workers gag, etc. Smelly employee is a tough one for bosses to deal with usually, but just be descriptive and be sure to get statements/complaints from co-workers on how she and/or her clothing smell, so rank it's affecting them. Again, it's not the fox, it's her conduct. OP is not the a-hole, as long as he/she does the discipline and/or termination based on factual work-related basis, work rules to be on time, to not leave early repeatedly, to not cause work not to get done or be unnecessarily delayed, to not cause a distraction with a really bad odor, etc. It's not the fox, it's the employee's conduct. OP makes it all about the fox in disciplining/terminating the employee, then he's tar, because the employee can make a great case for a lawsuit based on OP not liking her owning a fox instead of her just not doing her job. I have raised several foxes. They are outside animals, though they also had the sunroom to be inside. They are super messy, smelly, and will mark everything and everyone they like. Nobody should get a pet fox until they have actually felt with them. The otters I raised were smellier though. Fun fact, the fox domestication gene found by people attempting to domesticate foxes also makes them lose bladder control. We had a fox mark his territory against our front door overnight the other week. No matter how much cleaning went on, the house stank of fox piss for about a week. It was absolutely vile. She probably needs to wash her clothes at a laundromat and shower outside her home. I used to have lots of farm animals, and it wasn't until I left for college that I realized just how obvious it was that I owned animals. My first load of clothes actually smelled clean and genuinely like the lavender or citrus that was always advertised. I had to sniff a clean shirt and the shirt I was currently wearing, and instantly crinkled my nose at my own shirt. When I went home for the first time, I walked into a home that smelled like animals. And my first shower back home had me sniffing my skin because I somehow got more smelly after the shower. I worked in a wildlife rehab. Foxes do smell, but it washes off quite well. I would go to work Saturday, have a bath, and go out on Saturday night smelling fine. I really can't imagine what's going on here unless she is showering and then doing 30 minutes fox snuggling. Maybe she's letting the fox sleep in the wardrobe with her clean clothes. She needs to get up in the morning, put the fox away somewhere. He should have an enclosure, but if not, at least lock him in the kitchen. Then shower, get changed into clean unfoxed clothes, then go to work. Add all over deodorant and perfume for an extra help. Yeah, isn't it supposed to be used as a natural rodent repellent? I've never been near it, but I recall our DJ using it as an animal deterrent in some movie. You can't get rid of an employee for owning a fox, but you can get rid of them for lack of hygiene or constant disruption of the workplace due to clothes drenched in fox piss fumes. This is likely not a wild fox, but a captive bred one that's come from loners that are trying to domestic them. This animal is likely 7 to 90th generation. You are right though, she has no business owning this animal. They require an incredible amount of care and effort. You absolutely have to have time and money to care for an exotic pet like a fox, but most importantly you need education. It seems like the employee had no idea what they were getting into. Maybe op came off as harsh, but definitely not the a-hole. There's just not a nice way to say certain things. Also came here to say that foxes that are sold or adopted as pets are absolutely not the same as wild foxes. These animals are bred over generations just like other domesticated animals. I'm not saying I agree with breeding or that foxes should be pets, because they are not the same as owning a dog. I just want to be clear that they are definitely not wild animals as described above. They don't possess many of the instincts that would allow them to survive in the wild. Edit, spelling and typos. It's a wild animal that should be running free in the woods, not cramped up in a house or apartment. I hate that it's so easy for people to own wild and exotic animals in some places. It's cruel. The problem with living with a stinky animal is that you stop noticing the smell yourself, but everyone you meet has to put up with the pong on your clothes, hair, and skin. By now she probably has no idea how badly she smells, so little wonder she was shocked to be told she is causing co-workers to be uncomfortable. But the fox needs to go, or she needs to seek other employment, perhaps in a tannery, or in some other malodorous occupation, where no one will notice the reek of fox, not the a-hole. Agreed. I don't know why people are so obsessed with trying to domesticate wild animals. We got dogs, take the W. Since the problem here is that the staff member is failing to meet hygiene requirements and show up for/stay for their scheduled shift, there's a decent cause for termination. Fox or no fox. But I absolutely agree, keeping a fox as a pet in general is highly unethical. As someone who has done work in wildlife rehabilitation, I can say from experience that a lot of these domesticated foxes and other animals who are unable to survive in the wild are surrendered/discovered after someone tried to keep one as a pet and struggled with maintaining the animal's needs. There are places foxes too injured, ill, or incompatible with the wild can live out their days comfortably, but that is not a house. Keeping foxes as pets and funding fox breeders only adds to the rescue fox population. Foxes have a unique smell and are not meant to be handled by humans regularly the way we handle dogs and cats whose lineage has undergone years of genetic selection. That makes them suitable as pets. We don't need to domesticate every animal because we think it looks cool. Foxes are self-domesticating in England, so I wonder how long it will remain unethical or horrible. Domestication is a great evolutionary adaptation for many species. Cows are abundant and oroches are long gone. Perhaps someone already mentioned a post about a person who wanted to get a fox. The person supplying the fox asked them to undergo a lot of things, but biggest was to take home a jar of urine and live with it. If I remember correctly, they were completely disgusted by this idea and didn't understand why they needed to jump through so many hoops. This is the why. Even if you get used to the smell, it stays with you despite showers. It goes with you to work, grocery shopping, family homes. It's a really big commitment. God, I ducking hope this woman isn't keeping a fox in her apartment. That would be even more cruel to the poor thing. The bit about someone with a lot of land made me think of the people who own Juniper the fox. Exactly, they sell fox urine, and it is the strongest scent right after skunk spray. It's a ducking nightmare. When you said she was pissed on before work, that is almost as bad as being sprayed by a skunk, and she would need more than a shower and a change to get that smell out of her house. Does she not know about the dogs you can get that look almost exactly like foxes? This chick only has a fox to take photos of said fox and to tell people, hey, I have a fox. Take this fox to a proper home and get a goddamn dog. A friend of mine used to work in a small wildlife sanctuary in southern Germany. They took in old or injured circus animals in order to give them some kind of whatever is the wild animal equivalent to being put out to pasture, I guess. They mostly had tigers and bears. One year, they got 3 or 4 almost grown fox cubs over a fairly short time frame. Turns out, in their region, it was fairly common for people to buy dog cubs out of some car trunk in a parking lot, and one of the already fairly disreputable people who sell dogs like that had apparently gotten their hands on a litter of fox cubs. And, being even more disreputable than the average, they sold them as dogs to people who didn't know the difference. Well, they learned the difference quickly. Some, when they noticed the smell and how they were impossible to house train. Others, when their vets let them know they only treated domestic animals. So the cubs ended up in the sanctuary, where they got their own enclosure and are presumably a lot happier than they'd have been as a pet in someone's house. I live in the city, used to be burbs, but now straight up urban. I happen to live in one of few places with green space left, and we have foxes, and I can tell when we have new kits in the neighborhood the stench. Some of my older neighbors keep telling our condo it's cats, and no matter how many times animal control tells them no, it's foxes, they don't get it. I bought a spray to put on my flowers to deter rabbits and deer that contained fox urine. It smelled so bad and the smell lasted over a week. It is like if you concentrated cat urine to the intensity of how skunks smell then left it out on the sun all day. Not the a-hole. A fox are one of my damn chickens. I don't care how cute they are. That employee needs to find a better habitat for that pet. The exception to this would be the foxes they've managed to domesticate in, I think, Russia? Somewhere cold at least. But those cost like 8 grand. And yeah, foxes don't make good cuddly pets otherwise. And water actually makes it worse. How does it compare to deer piss? A whole customer broke a bottle of that when I worked retail. Stunk up the area for the rest of the night. Was glad I didn't work in sporting goods and only occasionally had to walk by it. It might not be a wild fox. Fennec foxes have become quite popular as pets. I think this is more likely. I've no idea how their urine smells, however, and whatever kind of fox, it's not acceptable to smell like urine in the workplace. Not the a-hole. The elephant in the room here is that you can't really have a pet fox. You can have a fox that you keep in your house. Just like any other wild animal, that is a lot of work. How many people on Tiger King had day jobs? Obviously foxes aren't as tough as tigers, but it's on the same spectrum, and that spectrum is entirely removed from pet behavior. I love exotic animals, and did some looking into foxes. Yes, they are super adorable, but I realize that if ferret stink is enough for me to never own one, a fox is totally out of the question. And 100% it's not a pet for someone who works a 9 to 5 in an office. The employee should have just tried to find a foxy looking cat. I'd bet some Maine Coon mixes can end up with big fluffy tails and reddish coats. Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell for more videos. Also like the video if you enjoy it.